Well, hello everybody. I don't know how many people log on. It's pretty late, but I had a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm glad I took that time, planned ahead, and was there for my daughter's grad. It was a beautiful night. We have another night, the big dinner and dance and party tomorrow, and it's very nice. I enjoyed that time with my eldest and my youngest, but it's really a couple days for my oldest. She's excited. I'm excited, and we had a good long talk tonight after the celebration was over and everybody went their way. I took my oldest daughter out for ice cream. We had a good long talk, and it's exciting because it's father and daughter time, and her life's just starting, her journey in life. She's excited, and she likes that energy I have, and I stay the course, and I tell her about the world and what I've seen of it so far, which also brings me to this video and posts by people, especially Alberta separatists or folks who were on board with that, and the same kind of things always come up. And I'll tell you, I've been right across Canada now, and I haven't spent nearly enough time in certain regions. I'm going back to BC. I need to visit the unceded First Peoples there, the unceded Indians of British Columbia. I have an invite from the chief of the Wet'suwet'en, and I'm going to be doing that later this summer. I may do one more job after the one I'm on now. I go back in 5 days. I think I have 2, 3, possibly 4 weeks, but I think it's going to be 2, and bank up some more cash. I may do another job after that, and then it's to BC. But a lot of folks like to say, why do you separate Canadians and First Peoples? Well, I couldn't get the legal path to independence for Alberta if I didn't do that. More equally, the same narrative, it's imperative that I do that for fixing Canada. And why is that? Well, folks, we have a tremendous amount of Crown land in Canada. Even Alberta, 60% of Alberta is locked away from all Albertans. Same goes 65% actually. Almost, 62% for Saskatchewan. It's locked away because you gotta have the federal Crown lands too. And folks, those are the most settled provinces in Canada. They weren't even done properly. Can't change any of that. When Canadians say, oh, sorry, looks like I lost a bulb there. Oh, that happens. Poor truck's getting old. When people say, oh, just settle everything, make everybody equal. Well, unfortunately, that's not how Canada was designed, and it's not legally how Canada can operate by breaching the treaties that are wrong, massive human rights violations, and they come with genocide attached to our country, whether we like it or not. And I'm going to tell everybody, in international law, on the international stage, there's only one country who's very weak today. They are not the country of old, and that, if you guessed the United Kingdom, you'd be right. We narrate the Crown, we hold on to that illusion. We as Canadians think we're much, much bigger than we really are. And when I say that, it's really pathetic how small and minute we are as a country in this world, bar nobody else. Now people would say, oh, but our wealth, our GDP, we have a huge huge landmass. Hear me, Canadians and First Peoples. We have a huge landmass with a small population. We cannot defend our borders. The idea, the cockamamie idea that USA will do it no matter what. If you believe that, I have a country in great peril right now called Ukraine, who isn't doing so well at all. They just lost a major city. Russian troops are moving in. They're securing the 4 obelisks they've wanted to take. I told people long ago, Russia will fight to the last Ukrainian. Why wouldn't they? They're arguably the second most powerful, possibly the most powerful nation in the world, depending on how you want to look at it. Pound for pound nuclear, Russia, bar none, is the most powerful nation in the world. They can destroy the entire world and then some many times. Doesn't really matter at that point. No, it doesn't. But they're much more armed and nuclear capable than the United States of America. Why is that? Because the United States isn't bordered to Europe or Asia. They don't have those issues Russia clearly has. Russia's capable of fighting the entire world. Military, Russia's half the size of USA in population, a great landmass too, but their military is pound for pound equal to the United States of America. In fact, the Russian force that's fighting in Ukraine today is only a minor amount of their population of military. Minor. It's not even their main forces. They're not even using their main technologies. Same with USA. They're playing with all old tech. Old tech. That's what they give Ukraine to fight Russia, who's using old tech. Russia's not trying to kill everybody. Russia's trying to take its 4 obelisks. Canada is incapable of defending its borders. If you think that Russia can't take what it wants in the Arctic, you're sadly mistaken, and vice versa with USA. There's not much Canada can do about anything. We have a tremendously weak military, tremendously weak, and it hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's gotten much worse. First Peoples are jointly shared. Russia has First Peoples. USA has First Peoples. USA did a great settlement with the American Indians, who are the same First Peoples as Canada. If it was up to Russia, China, and USA together, Canada would be much differently designed than it is today. There's only one country legally holding Canada the way it is, and that's the UK, because the UK has a veto, and they've used it many times for many of their colonial conquests in the past. The last one being South Africa. It wasn't until the whole world turned on UK, and in fact USA signed on with Russia and China, that UK had to change its narrative. And they did, because they made a promise, and they didn't want all the damage that would come to them. They're not the mighty country they once were. They're not even close to what they were in World War II. That's a fact. The history of UK is garbage. It's brutal. It's some of the worst human rights violations known to the world in the last 900 years. That's a fact. All of its development. For sure, in the last 500 years, UK really took a turn for the worst. In the last 200 years, UK became the worst country known in the world, until probably another colonial Nazi Germany came along to sweep it away. Why did they do that? Look at World War I. Look at the settlement from World War I on African assets transferred from colonial Germany to colonial France. That's what we fought World War I from. Anybody telling you anything else is a liar. That's all Canadian propaganda. You are hard-pressed to find anything but that truth. That's what World War II was fought for. Who gets to take African assets for whose empire? That's the truth. World War I. None of the human rights we have today, post-World War II, were even available to the world pre-1945. I have Americans on my Facebook sending me all kinds of stuff on over 100,000 children that were sent from UK to Canada, basically child trafficked, and they said, how is this even possible, and why was it ended in 1948? Well, that's very easy. USA, Russia, and China created world-binding laws. In fact, human rights violations, and children were no longer able to be bartered from one colonial to another. You can't do that in the world today. It's a human rights violation. UK had to stop all that, and they did. A lot of people want to know why the treaties have to be honored. It's because they were built in absolute human genocide and misery, just like the preceding 2 world wars. If you want to see awful, horrific, disgusting human rights violations on women and children, just go look at the last 2 world wars. Chemical warfare, biological warfare, testing. There's stories of children being marched out to check for mines in minefields, blowing up thousands and thousands of children from losers of World War II. That went on for some time until we had human rights laws passed, forced upon every nation in the world. Contrary to popular belief, the world was an awful place pre-1948. And there's only 3 countries responsible for changing all that narrative. And largely, and nearly all of it, is because of Russia, China, and the United States of America. Contrary to what everybody else says. You will find that the First Peoples have been greatly enhanced in Russia and USA, not so much in Canada. In fact, the worst of the worst has been done in Canada, the border country between both those countries. You will find barbaric numbers in tuberculosis, not just for residential schools, but also for most Canadian reserves. They're much larger than absolutely anything found in Russia and USA by extremely large margins. This goes on all the way up to 2020, folks. We just had another one in northern Alberta. Northern Alberta today. People don't know about the rest of the world. They trust what Canada is supposed to be, but Canada is none of those things. We're an extremely large landmass with an extreme amount of resources, highly sought after, all over the world, in raw form. Canada's wealth comes from extraction of raw resources. Hardly anything upgraded or refined into detailed products. You'll find hardly anything in manufacturing at a 4th tertiary level in Canada at all. Most of our wealth is generated from the first level of tertiary system, and that's raw product. That's what keeps us in wealth, and that's the only reason why. And we're a tremendously small population. To settle Canada means releasing all the land. To do that, we have to settle the claims. We have to settle everything for the First Peoples. It has to be a reconciliation. And if Canadians don't understand that they hold literally the keys to the largest source of resources in the world today for the most smallest population, I don't know what else to tell you. To get even half of Canada for 40 million people is tremendously, explosively more than anybody else in the entire world. You'd be wealthy beyond all measure. This is the platform I've been designing for 5 years on my path. I had that platform for the legal path to Alberta independence. And I'm going to say this to people who bring this up to me. And it's people who've never even visited a single reserve in their entire life. I've been all over Canada, and I absolutely did all 49 of the First Peoples in Alberta. And while I did not win all of them, I certainly had 26s here out of 49. Yes, there's ones who wanted nothing to do with me, but there were those who listened. Even a national chief listened. Even grand chiefs have listened. And I'll tell you, folks, I've been all over the country, all over it. Métis, Inuit, and absolutely numbered treaties from all over Canada, and unceded as well. And I'm going into more of that. I'm going to finish in BC. Until another Canadian comes along and has contacted, got involved, and been in my shoes and done that kind of work, I'm sorry, but you're very childish, you're very ignorant of what Canada is and what it's all about. I've also explored every province in this country, nearly every province, and I'm going to finish BC. I will never, I don't know, I'm not going to say never. We'll see when the campaign period comes along in 2025 if I can make it to PEI. But it's an expensive trip for a small yield, and I don't mean to make that light, but I am a blue-collar guy, and if you think that going across Canada back and forth as a blue-collar guy is a cheap feat, I don't know what else to tell you, and I am just an average Canadian. But I've met many, many First Peoples all across Canada in all of their different situations, narratives, and I understand their systems entirely. And I believe like nobody else in my class of Canadian. So when other people in my class come forward and tell me, oh, never mind that, or don't do this, I know. If you've never left your small town, or you've never left your province, and you've definitely never even gone out to the 49 First Nations treaties, 49 chiefs of Alberta, and you're going to try and lecture me on how it's supposed to work, I'm sorry, but you got a lot more work to do, and that requires boots on the ground. There's nobody, and I don't mean, I'm not bragging here, it's not bragging, it's just reality. If you haven't done boots on the ground, and you haven't gone to those extremes, and you haven't toured all of Canada, or at least all of your own province, community by community, the 87 ridings, and at least a mass majority of the reserves, then you know what? You shouldn't say anything. Because honestly, you haven't even done a smidge of work. Not even an ounce. Not even an ounce in a lake of water. And that speaks volumes. And it's why you have the views you do. Because they're narrow, they're very ignorant, and you have no idea what Canada is, let alone what the First Peoples are in all their narratives. And if you can't do that, politics and ideas of grandeur are never going to be yours. And I don't mean to make fun of people or put people down, but when people come on and they talk so stringent, you gotta do this, and they're gonna tell me, and they've never even knocked on 50 doors, let alone 100 doors or 100,000 doors. Sorry, but if you haven't done that, please don't speak to me about narratives that you don't know anything about. And if you knock on those doors, and if you go do all those explorations, and you take the punch in the face off the chin like I have many thousands and thousands of times. I don't mean literally, I mean figuratively. Like people publicly telling you off when you're out of your element. And it's happened to me. And I know there's a great amount of followers who've witnessed it. And I stand toe to toe with that. I take it off the chin. I don't erupt. I don't go crazy, even though others do get upset and they feel like, wow, how could they talk to you like that? But I take it because that's what it takes. And you've got to be able to stand your ground, stick to your position, and never lose your cool. And that's what it takes. And it takes seeing a lot of people and a lot of different perspectives, seeing at least this country for what it is. I've already started going across the USA and seeing it state by state for what it is, and learning the truth instead of the narrative that I've been fed or that I've heard but I need to see. I take each state as I go, just like I take each reserve as I go, just like I take every constituency, every electoral district as I go. And that's digging deep, and that's getting to the heart of what is instead of what isn't, or what you want it to be. I don't do what I want it to be. I do what is. And I deal with what is, and I make with what is. And that's how we have to do this, for the people, by all the people. And if people don't see the validity in that, you're just a child. To me, it's childish. It's a child talking about Alberta independence without any consultation with any of the First Peoples. Listening to groups and even Danielle Smith and her narrative of all the things she's going to do, or Pierre Poilievre and all the things he's going to do when he lies to all your faces. Tonight, I'm looking at my messages and I got people going, we're going to have a civil action against the government for all these pandemic things. But you failed to even know what the National Citizens Inquiry was, led by all Conservatives. That video, Pigs at the Trough, that I'm going to be doing, the first one with the Conservatives, highlighting two earlier Western parties that amalgamated with the Conservative Party of Canada as they were the PCs. We're talking about Alliance, we're talking about Stockwell Day, and then we're going to go back to the first, we're going to go to the other party, and we're going to go through all of them and their betrayal on you. These same folks, all of them, they're the ones who led the National Citizens Inquiry. And because of that, you all will never be able to sue, never be able to see any criminal action taken, meaning no investigations of a criminal nature, no charges ever. All of the government and all the Crown appointments get off scot-free. All the first-class sworn get off scot-free. I had a woman share on Twitter, and everyone's liking and sharing it, that video of the kid playing pond hockey who got arrested by the police, talking about they need to be criminalized now that the inquiry's out. No, they're all vindicated. It's over. You accepted a public inquiry. You gave up the rights to any civil suits, any criminal prosecutions. No way, no how, in any way, shape, or form in Canada. That's Canada-wide, the entirety of the province of Alberta, too. Folks telling me about independence. There was a legal path to independence presented. All the people involved since me have all but thrown it in the garbage, accepted autonomy and crown authority, which means no independence at all. And you're never going to get independence without the First Peoples. More, you're never going to get independence without the United Nations Security Council. And 3, none of those groups are going to give you any of it, and that's world-binding law, while you're sworn and enacting the Crown power. They're never going to give it to you, and you're subject to UK's veto. This is reality. This is the truth. That's my video, folks. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Had a great day. Got another great day tomorrow. God bless. I know.